Silent Illumination by Zen Master Shengyen. Since it is more natural for most people to understand practice as occurring in stages, I have described silent illumination as occurring in stages. It is possible to contemplate emptiness and selflessness at any stage in silent illumination. It is also possible to experience enlightenment at any stage of this practice. It is not necessary to progress stage by stage. Stage 1 is just sitting and being aware of the total body sensation. This stage is entered by completely relaxing the body and mind, either through breath contemplation or directly beginning to sit with total body awareness. The second stage is experiencing the environment as one with oneself. You are the environment, and the environment is you. The third stage of silent illumination is the experience of boundless spaciousness. We cannot experience the mind as infinite if it is swamped with discursive thoughts and delusions. We also cannot experience the environment as infinite if we constantly discriminate among sense objects, resulting in narrow points of view. But when our thoughts totally subside, we perceive the mind as infinitely vast. And when our discriminations stop, we perceive the environment as infinitely vast. If you can totally relax and maintain your awareness of just sitting, the body sense will disappear. In this state, the environment may also disappear. If this happens, you have entered a shallow samadhi state, but not that of silent illumination, where you would be vividly aware of the environment. This can also happen at the stage where you feel at one with the environment. If the environment disappears, you are again entering a light samadhi state, not practicing silent illumination, in which your mind would be clear, aware of everything, and utterly still. It is possible to enter this illumination stage from any of the earlier stages. As a result of your own practice, your mind becomes clear and bright, and there is no clinging to either self or no self. This is true silent illumination. I repeat and emphasize that you should not take these stages of silent illumination as a spiritual ladder to be ascended stage by stage. Each stage is complete and a possible entry point for genuine silent illumination. So, please do not anticipate a presumably better stage than where you are now. I talk about the internal infinite and the external infinite because some of you may have experienced either or both. However, if we experience the internal infinite without the external infinite, that would be samadhi, not silent illumination. Therefore, you need to know the difference. In samadhi, although the internal can be vast, open and clear, one is oblivious of the environment. One should also experience the environment as vast and open, leaving behind discrimination, yet knowing the outside very clearly. In true silent illumination, the environment exists, but we are not influenced, defiled, or conditioned by it in any way whatsoever. We are no longer swayed by discriminating thoughts. Unless I emphasize this, people may experience infinite spaciousness in their sitting, but on returning to their daily life, become distracted by the external world. They may cultivate an escapist attitude of wanting to practice in that blissful samadhi and remove themselves from others. This is certainly not the Mahayana or Chan teaching. This third level is infinitely vast with regard to the internal mind as well as to the world. Having this correct view, one will engage the world without being vexed or obstructed. Silent illumination in daily life. By now, you all know how to relax and practice just sitting. But do you know how to apply silent illumination to daily life? If you do not, perhaps the effectiveness of this method has not taken hold, and coming to this retreat has been of little use. So, I want to talk about practice in daily life. It was common in ancient India for yogis to remove themselves from society to practice in solitude in the forest. There, they would beg for alms and offerings from ordinary people who respected them. In China, there was no such tradition. Someone who went around asking for alms was simply a beggar. Practitioners had to work to survive and sustain their practice. For this reason, Chan has traditionally placed great emphasis on applying practice to daily work. Even before the arrival of Bodhidharma, who is considered to be the first patriarch of Chan, some practitioners emphasized meditation in their practice. By the time of the fourth and fifth patriarchs, self-supporting communities were established in which both work and meditation were emphasized. Even so, these communities were not widespread. Since earning a livelihood was difficult for the community, and the public did not sustain the practitioners. In the 8th century, in the time of the 6th patriarch, Huineng, practice consisted mainly of work. When he entered the monastery of the 5th patriarch, Hongren, Huineng worked in the kitchen, milling rice for the large community. The records of his discourses do not mention him practicing sitting meditation. After he reached thorough enlightenment and received transmission from the 5th patriarch, he left the monastery and lived and worked with hunters, looking after their traps. If he found an animal trapped in a cage, he would open the cage, but let the animal decide for itself whether it wanted to go free, because he felt obliged to the hunters for his livelihood. Therefore, he did not intervene any further. By the time of Master Bai Zhang in the 9th century, the system of work as practice was widely propagated. In his monastery, a day without work was a day without food. During the growing season, the monks drew their own crops, meditating in the morning and the evening. During the winter, when the fields were frozen, there was intensive meditation practice. There were also Dharma talks by Master Baichang, and retreats lasted 3 months. From this come the Chan tradition of intensive practice in the winter months. I have a disciple who was an accountant before she became a nun. When we made her the center's accountant, she complained, "Teacher, I left home and became a nun to do serious practice, and here I am counting money again." I told her, "This is very different. Before, you did it for yourself and your family. Now, you're doing it for the Sangha, the Buddhist community. And because there is no self-interest, no profit, no benefit, and no harm in your doing this job, that is genuine practice. Your mental attitude is also very different now. Before you came to the Dhamma, your mind was chaotic, wandering here and there during work. Now, you can attune and refine your own mind in the midst of business. You're offering your abilities to the Sangha. If that is not practice, what do you call it?" The same is true for all of you. Before you encountered the Dhamma, you had no practice, and your daily lives were filled with stir-up emotions and wandering thoughts. After coming across the Dhamma and learning silent illumination, you will be different when you go back. Work will become your practice, no matter what task you are engaged in. Wherever you are, you will be able to regulate, attune, and refine your mind. On the one hand, you are practicing, and on the other, you are interacting with others while maintaining a stable mind. Wherever you are, that will become your practice. When we eat, we should just eat. When we sleep, we should just sleep. When we sit, we should just sit. And when we work, we should just work. Saying this is one thing, doing it another. So I ask you, where is your mind when doing these things? Let's consider how this applies to working. To practice silent illumination means putting body and mind to the task at hand. This also means applying the best method appropriate for the task. If you do it single-mindedly and with your best effort, you will complete the work with a very stable and relaxed mind. You should approach the task with a plan that takes into account the past and the future. But once you start the task, focus on the present. You should carry out the task with a very even and ordinary mind, without feelings of like or dislike, good or bad, or engaging in discursive thoughts. When you complete the task, reflect on whether changes are needed, whether the job was done well, and how you can do better in the future. This is how to practice silent illumination while working. But the principles are the same, no matter what you are doing. Silence manifests when you do not generate vexations, attachments, and discriminations while carrying out the activity. Illumination manifests when you clearly understand the activity, focusing on carrying it to completion. As practitioners, we should clearly understand our own abilities and limitations. We should understand our roles in society, what we are capable of, and what is beyond our ability to do. Since everyone is born with certain aptitudes and limitations, knowing our own boundaries is also practice. Some people may be very skillful with their hands, while others are less dexterous. Some people are good at very detailed work, while others are more suited to manual labor. We should learn to be content with our own limitations while working to the best of our ability. This is recognizing clearly where you are and what role you should play. Not knowing this can create vexations for yourself and for others. Knowing where you should put yourself is silence. Very clearly knowing this, while engaged in work, is illumination. Consider the ox in the fields. Although powerful and dynamic, the ox does its job without trampling on the crops. It responds according to our circumstances. Being like this ox will bring you happiness and joy wherever you are, at work or with friends. If there is peace and harmony where you are, this is practicing silent illumination. So please be an ox in your lives. Practice is not limited to sitting meditation. It should not happen that as soon as you get off the cushion, life becomes stressful. Be very clear about your body's presence and its sensations. When meaningless sensations arise, do not respond to them. This is silence. Always maintain this clear awareness of the total body-mind. That is illumination. Be very clear about the environment without being influenced by it. That is totality. The sum of all the above is silent illumination. Now, please practice silent illumination wholeheartedly.